role of passing game coordinator. In total, the Titans will have 10 coaches at the start of the 2023 season that are either new to the staff or working under a different role. The team has yet to hire a running backs coach after moving Tony Dews from running backs to tight ends. Also, a front office move by the Titans today. Albert Breer reporting that the Tennessee Titans are hiring former Packers administrator Chad Brinker as their new assistant general manager. Tonight, the 6th-ranked Tennessee Vols face Vanderbilt at Memorial Gym, looking for their 12th straight win in the series over the Commodores. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. You can catch the Vol Network call right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Microphone today. I got to use Buck's microphone. This is like being right-handed your whole life and somebody saying, hey, your show's on in 2 minutes. Switch to your left hand.
Oh, I did that.
You switched to being left-handed? No, you
were. I'm left-handed. I had to switch to right-handed.
Oh.
No. Yeah.
I was unprepared to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the other side of my brain, I'm facing the other way. I'm discombobulated.
Well, it happened by accident. I never got injured in high school or college except for this one time. I was a freshman. And then they moved me up to JV. This guy grabs, back then, you'd had to tear away, grabs me and slings me around. I'm playing running back. Slings me around, boom, I break my thumb. Slam breaks my thumb. So then I had to wear a cast, and so I had started doing everything with my right hand. To the extent it helped me, when the basketball season came, I started shooting right-handed jump shots because I started doing everything right-handed, and I'm left-handed. So now I'm ambidextrous. I bat right, left, everything.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot the basketball left or right. Yeah, all because of that injury. It would have never have happened. Never. I would have been, I'm going left king all the time. So it actually became a strength. And at the time, I didn't even realize. I just started doing it. When you're young, you just do whatever, and that's what happens. But
isn't that funny? You just do things when you're young, like, oh, okay. Now you'd be like, oh, gosh, what am I going to do? When you're young, you'd be like, I just use my other hand.
Yeah.
So you should have been a left-handed pitcher, though. This is supposedly Shaun Alexander is at the Super Bowl on medium row. He's supposed to call in
Alabama running back,
Seahawks, former Seahawks running back, supposed
MVP.
Yeah, think about that as a running back.
I forgot about that. Man.
He's supposed to call in live from media row. Should be any time, but in the meantime and in between time, you were left-handed. Dude, you only got to be able to throw like 85, and you could have been a pro pitcher.
I wish I was. I played baseball. I played like 2 years in middle school, and they were like, "You're good in the infield and the outfield, but you're batting." I was straight. Let me get up here and hack. I was a hacker, and hacking was mean like I struck out the majority of the time. But if I did hit the ball, it was going really far. So that didn't happen very much at all.
Once again, pitching that takes the batting off your plate.
I know. They never thought about putting me a pitcher because they see some blazer out there and they go, blazers don't pitch. Fast guys don't pitch. So that's kind of probably where it started. Probably all my fault. I had no idea. I was just playing to be playing and had no really tutelage like, how to bat or, any of that. So how to even pitch. I don't even know if I would have been a good pitcher. I might have threw the ball all over the place. You got to have control and just all that. But I really love the mind games and how to pitch inside and out. So we got to ask, Shaun Alexander, was he a multi-sport athlete growing up? Is he on?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, yes.
I played baseball, basketball, and football in high school, and I only played football my senior year after I decided to go to the Crimson Tide.
You played football 1 year in high school, Shaun.
Say it again?
You only played 1 year of high school football?
No. I played baseball, basketball, and football junior year, sophomore year, and junior year. And then I signed with Bama after my senior year. It was over, and I did not play the basketball or football. I did not play basketball and baseball that year.
Yeah. Shaun Alexander, didn't you run for like 3,000 yards as a senior up in Florence, Kentucky?
No. 3,000?
My sophomore year was 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. My junior year was 2,400 yards and 42 touchdowns, and my senior year was 3,500 yards and 54 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is why they converted me to cornerback, because I didn't reach nowhere near any of that. They were like, nope, you're good at running back, but you get to college, you're gonna be over your day. We got 2 or 3 other guys better than you. Yeah, we're on with Shaun Alexander, former NFL MVP and naturally Seahawk legends. I guess you're down on Radio Row down there at the Super Bowl, and I know you have a passion for doing charity work, but tell us a little bit how you got involved with Cafe Momentum.
Oh man, I met a group, the Stand Together Foundation, about 4 years ago, and it's about 700 of some of the most successful businessmen, women, and philanthropic leaders in the country, and they get together to tackle some of the country's greatest problems. And so I was interested in meeting people that were so successful in the business world and how they would use their wealth and their platforms to go impact people and help foundations really explode. And so I went there and we had a big summit, and I met Chet Hauser and his team from Cafe Momentum, and Cafe Momentum is it's basically kids that would be put in the juvenile justice system in Dallas, and Chad was like, yeah, we're gonna flip this thing over. Recidivism in the juvie is about 50%. That means 50% are going to go back to prison. Well, because of those kids going through the Cafe Momentum system, which they have a year paid internship, they help them with education. So some kids end up becoming homeschooled and private schooled by the Cafe Momentum group. Social workers, psychologists. So they basically put the mamas and daddies and aunties and uncles around these kids. And the recidivism through their program is 11%. And I just thought, gosh, after I talked my wife into not adopting all these kids.
Because you got a house full, right? You got a house full now.
We already got a house full. We already got a house full. I said, so we ain't going to adopt, but what we can do is we can come be a part. And I said, hey, let's team up, Stand Together Foundation, Cafe Momentum. Let's go get the NFL Inspire Change. Let's go get Players Coalition. And let's go figure out how to put one in every NFL city. And so we have just broken ground in Pittsburgh and broken ground in Nashville. And we've got the team ready for Houston, Atlanta, Detroit, Denver. And so it's just moving. We're super excited. We got a plan to be in all NFL cities by 10 years. And so it's just what happens. You look at these kids' eyes who have been called throwaways in the program, and now they get into our program. And now they all of a sudden see life. They see potential. They see that they could be something that everybody else told them they could never be. And some of these kids, I mean, it's not right, but some of them stole computers to keep their parents' lights on. You know what I mean? Grandma's freezing machines on it, and they over here, my grandma's going to die if I don't. And so that's some of their stories.
Wow.
But you say, hey, you didn't think it right, but you're really a CEO as innovative as you are. We just got to go do it the right way.
Well, sometimes you just need guidance and a little bit of love and tender love to care and everything else. But I know you gave that story. Kind of give us an in-depth story of a kid, good, bad, or indifferent that, example of like the typical, kid that's in the program.
Yeah, so a typical kid is, I would say like Cam. He's got a similar story of what I was saying. Like, he was 14 years old. He basically was starting to get out of school at 12 because he had his grandfather died. His dad died. Grandma and his grandma was the one on the ventilation machine. And so then you take Cam and he says, man, like grandma's going to die. I overheard mom say it. Mom is got some mental issues, so she can't keep a job. So he gets out of school and he says, how am I going to make this money? And he goes to basically a convenience store and robs a computer, takes the money or the computer back to them and says, hey, if you cash me out, then I'll just leave. And they're like, oh, you stole this. And so he takes a fake gun and tries to rob the place and says, I will never hurt you. I'll never hurt you. Just give me the money. I need it. I need the money. These are those kids. You know what I mean? And so he comes in the Cafe Momentum program, and what do? Oh, well, we can't get him a job because he's 15. So we call the local government. We have them make a new rule that under his circumstance, he can get a job at 15. Here it is 3 years later, and he's got a highly successful job He's making some good money for the family. He's the breadwinner of the family. He's got his GED, he's taking college courses online. Like, he's a success story. And what did his life of crime start off with? Overhearing that his grandma, or that the electric bill is not going to be paid, and his grandma's going to die because they can't keep the electric on. Like, those are great stories, and that's just most of the kids. You got kids in Cali and kids in Dallas. You hear their story, and there's no one around them. A dad has died. The mom is trying to raise them. There's more than one kid in the house. What do you do if you're the oldest? Well, some of them, they'll steal. You know what I mean? And, you look at the prison system. You get some people, why is recidivism so high? Because you look at the story, and it's like, well, you get a bed, you get food, you get a psychologist to help you walk through your issues and talk to. So what do? They come out, they go through the system, they come out, and they're like, wait a minute, I have no bed, I have no food, and I have no one to talk to. So if I steal this thing right here, then maybe at least I'll go back and at least have the bread, the food, and a psychologist to talk to. Well, we got a problem with how we do it, because in some people's stories, even though it sounds crazy to most people in our country, that life is better in prison than it is not. Mm-hmm. So we got to change the juvenile justice system to say, well, man, we can't make no goals be the plan and you live your life with no food, no shelter, and no friends. We got to help the country learn, hey, this is how we connect with people, and let's go make this open. Let's make the whole world available for people to have real relationships and real shelter and real clothing.
We're on with the former NFL MVP, Shaun Alexander, with the Crimson Tide and the Seattle Seahawks. And, by the way, we did play against each other, but I was scared to play against him, so I played hurt. No, I was hurt when I was with the Eagles. No, I was hurt in the Eagles. Yeah, we played them in Yankee Stadium, so I didn't play that game. But yeah, Shaun Alexander.
Oh yeah, was that the Reggie White? Was that the Reggie White thing when they did the big banner?
No, it was in Seattle.
Oh, y'all played in Seattle. My bad.
Yeah. I think y'all got us too. Yeah, I think y'all got us.
Yeah. Seattle was a special place.
That was loud. Mm-hmm.
Shaun, I got to ask you this. So every week the Titans send us this stat dump, and every week it's like feats of Derrick Henry. It's half of their release. And it's always like Derrick Henry and 4 other people have done this, or Derrick Henry and 2 other people have done this, or 6 other, whatever it is. You seem to show up on those lists all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, Blaine was in the league with you, so he knows how great you are. Of course, I remember watching you play. I remember that. But for anybody who's forgotten, we mention your name every week when we read these feats of Derrick Henry because you did a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, I was really honored because I was coached by Mike Holmgren, who was Bill Walsh's protege.
Yeah.
So he had Joe Montana, then Steve Young, then Brett Favre with Green Bay on his own, and he comes to Seattle, and he literally just said, I'm going to change the offense to put it around Shaun's talent. And so it was really an honor to play with him. And, they ask me all the time, well, what do you think about the Hall of Fame? And I was like, I don't know how the rules work, but I am I'm very proud and honored of the things that me and my offensive line did. And, being one of 8 guys or 9 guys that had 100 touchdowns, is pretty special. And being the first guy to have 15 or more touchdowns 5 years in a row, all that stuff matters, And so I was really we played hard, we gelled hard, and we did everything we could to go be the best version of ourselves, and it was great.
So I have to ask you this. It's Super Bowl week. Obviously, you're making the rounds. Can I just say this, and I don't want to get you all stirred up and mad, but I still wonder to this day if the officials who officiated your Super Bowl were watching the same game that I was. Because I don't think I've ever seen a team get screwed in the Super Bowl like your Seahawks did. And I'm mad just thinking about it. Yeah. And I'm not even you who played, but I'm still mad about that game.
But did you win the Super Bowl? No, he went on it.
No, they went, but they couldn't beat the Steelers and the officials.
Oh.
Yeah, it was wild. Rarely do you get in those moments where you're like, yeah, this is weird,
that's right.
But I think that I always try to take ownership, because you can't take it back. But that was the only game that the NFL turned the officiating into an all-star game, where most teams get, the referees, the 8-9 guys together. They rank themselves, and the best ones all go together. Well, in this one, they took the best individual scorers and they put them all in the Super Bowl. And so there's just things that they missed, and they all turned it into, instead of making plans, I missed this call, I'll make it up. And that's kind of flaw of human, you know what I mean? But they usually make it up. They were doing it off their own self. So if I miss a holding call for this, I'll make it
I'll
up
make it
later.
up.
Well, they missed a holding call with Steelers, and then when they make it up for their score sheet, it was on us. So we would lose it both ways. Steelers would hold, and then when we held, we would get called. So we would lose in both ways, and it happened the whole night. Needless to say, they never do it like that again. You know what I mean? And that's why.
Well, sorry about the bad memory, but that was a great team. And like I said, as soon as Blaine said we were having you, I'm like, oh, I got to ask him about the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It was
Yeah.
tough. I think a lot of Hall of Fame stuff would be done if I would have won that Super Bowl. Because it is all the stats in a Super Bowl win.
Wow. Now, talk about that now. You have to, I mean, why some players have to have a Super Bowl ring that helps them get over the top to get in the Hall of Fame, and then some don't. And I know there's all different levels of, hearing the Hall of Fame guys talk of, Hall of Famers. But at the end of the day, y'all all in. I don't care if you're first ballot, 10th ballot, whatever, you're in. So why do you think that is by the voters? Because I feel like some former players should be on there to tell, like, hey, man, I don't care about his stats. This guy, we game plan to stop him. And that's why he didn't have no. Let's give a Hester, let's talk about him. They said, oh, well, they didn't kick him the ball. So he didn't have a chance to have more stats. Well, that alone puts him in the Hall of Fame. They denied to kick it to him.
Right. And then when they accidentally did it on accident, he would go for a touchdown.
Yeah. Right.
No, I don't know how they do it. I feel like it's not consistent, but I feel like when players are involved, it gets settled out a little bit easier. But for me, it's always hard because if you don't forget stats, then it does work.
All right.
And so it all works itself out.
Right, it all works itself out. I know you. Not only were you a great player, everybody knows you're a great human being, and you can tell that by how you answer the questions for sure. But you were a great running back. But when you watch the game today, who has somewhat similar style that reminds you a little bit of yourself?
Oh, you know what? I know. I love Davin Cook. I love Nick Chubb. They're amazing players. Jonathan Taylor. So there's some great guys that I just really love, and everybody's tapping me to say we gotta go to the next thing.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
one more thing. Just let us know. You can go. Where do you need to go for Cafe Momentum? I know they do some cooking. I know donate, careers, interns, volunteer. Where do they need to go?
Go to the NFL Experience, and we'll be there with Cafe Momentum and the whole team. You're gonna meet some of the kids we talked about. It's gonna be a great afternoon tomorrow. Tomorrow at 1.
All right. Appreciate it, Shaun, man. Take care, man.
All right, we'll talk then.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
At Shaun Alexander on Twitter. You could check him out there as well.
Bad man. Grooving, too, man. He used to run, and you'd be like, dang, he's running away from people. It didn't look like he wasn't running hard either. It'd be like, whoa.
And this is not a small human being.
No.
He's full size.
Well, they were all full size to me.
But that dude, 5 years, 15 touchdowns. He was over 10,000 yards rushing. And what got me thinking about this is, and I know we got to go, Lucas, but we do get the Derrick Henry stat dump every week, and it's like, these 7 people in history have done this thing that Derrick Henry just did. And it'd be like Derrick Henry, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. Shaun Alexander's on a bunch of those.
Right. Well, you know why I think he's always forgotten? Because of what I just said. And I hate it to say this. Because he's a great human being, and he doesn't give a fuss about it. He just keeps it moving. He says it's all going to work itself out. And it will. Because he knows what he was. There's no doubt about it. Anybody played against him. They know during his era, he was a great player.
Won MVP as a running back.
Yeah, that don't even happen now.
All right. Titans made a bunch of coaching changes happen while we were on the air yesterday. We need to get more into that. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1045. You've had a little time to think about the Tim Kelly as the OC thing.
Yeah, Lucas is an analyst too, by the way.
Lucas needs to be thinking about it. We'll ask Lucas about it. We'll ask you about it. We'll get into all of that next on Blaine and Mickey.
Can't wait.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. So as we were on the air yesterday, Lucas just fired over there and hit the breaking news button, and we were like, what in the world? And it was essentially the Titans had just sent an email, and they had redone the whole offensive everything, including naming Tim Kelly the offensive coordinator. I think for a lot of people, the question would be, why now? I mean, if you wanted Tim Kelly, you could name that rascal a long time ago. If you really wanted to talk to Bieniemy and or Nagy, you're probably going to have to wait another week. Now, it was reported they had expressed interest in talking to him, but no report that they ever did. All I could think about this, Blaine, was a couple of years ago, the defense had a really bad year, and we wondered, gosh, they're going to fire some people off the defensive staff. No, they didn't do that. They just got all new players on defense. It's not us. It's them. So here we go with it. Now, I know Todd Downing's gone, but they got a guy who was already on the staff who's going to run the same offense, essentially. As you've pointed out many, many times for people who may wonder or doubt this, with the input of the head coach who says yay or nay. It's his system. He talks about his system all the time.
Yeah. So, they act like he's not part of this equation. Yeah, he is. Oh, absolutely. The head on every team is. I don't care if that's the side of the ball you're on or not. And not how Vrabel operates. He's got his hands on everything. You watch him at practice. See, he's around at every position group. So imagine now you're calling plays and he's on every headset and making sure that he's cool with the calls you're making on offense and defense. Yeah, there's no way around it. His personality just won't let him not. So, yeah, he had to co-sign on all the calls. And it was his scheme, his system. And he liable to have called, he may not call actual plays. I'm sure he may have somewhere along the line, but he might have said run the football. Yeah, throw the football. He might even call plays. I wouldn't be put past he called plays. Yeah. So that's most coaches are like that, our head coaches that are successful. They just, they got to have a hand in all the baskets. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not.
I had a successful head coach tell me one time, of course I'm a control freak. How do you think I got here?
Yeah, to be honest, there's something to that. Yeah.
Hey, man, how do you think I got here? Controlling what I could control.
Yeah. That's just like, you go in the meeting room and he's the smartest guy in the room. And here's my only issue. I don't like with the guys moving around at different position groups. Now, one of the guys, I can't remember which one, has experience at multiple position groups throughout his career, but most don't. So to me, at this level, you got to understand not only what you're doing, but also the little nuances of the position. And that's hard to learn in your first year coaching that position. I don't care what position it is. So, at that, especially at the pro level. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But as I said yesterday, is Belichick kind of does that. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think he got put in a position where he wanted to hire a couple guys and wanted to give them a title so he could get them. And then he had to move other guys that he likes on the staff and move them to other positions. Like, I don't understand O'Hara went from quarterbacks coach to now an analyst. Like, to me, in my mind, that's a demotion.
You ever been demoted? I have. I know what that feels like. If you're O'Hara, analyst that's not the same as quarterbacks coach.
Right. That's not the same. You're doing mostly film work. You're not on the field as much. I would say it's a coach who has a whole lot of experience, and you want them on your staff, so you become an analyst instead of you're doing kind of some of the same duties just at another level than a grad assistant or at a college level or guys just now getting into the league, quality control. But at another level because you have all this experience. Like, think about analysts like this. Everybody knows Nick Saban. A lot of coaches go to him for, I'm going to call it rehab. Mm-hmm. Rehab means reboot your career. And they're not really at a position like you've been a former head coach or former OC or DC, but you're on the staff as an analyst, right? Butch Jones, great example. He was on the staff. Yep, for an analyst. And it just, you're waiting your turn and you're learning new things at the same time. You're also doing work on not only the current team they're playing, but also the upcoming game. at the specialty of what you're supposed to be doing, whether it's secondary, wide receiver, just whatever they like to do and whatever your specialty is. So, you can call it a demotion, but in theory, you're still having a lot. You're just not hands-on as much. I mean, but if your pay stays the same, some guys just be like, I like working for Mike or, whatever it may be. And, I want to go out here on the road, move my family and all those things. So, yeah, I'm flexible wherever you need me. And that's, most coaches are going to be that way unless they think they should be at a higher position. So, and I guess the other thing is no one on his staff, to me, can challenge him. And to me, I think that's vital. I think he has guys that haven't been in a powerful position on any other time in their career. So they're not going to sit down and say, Mike, well, if we do this, that's why we're not going to do that. It's because this works. I can show you on film wherever he wants to show him from another game or time he was a coach. I just don't think that not having someone question certain things is not a good thing. And to me, that means you're coaching with an iron fist, because now everybody's going to say, hey, that's what he said, do. That's what I'm going to do. So sometimes that works out well if you have great talent. But mind you, now, we could talk about great coaches. Great coaches get fired all the time. Bill Belichick got fired from Cleveland. He went to the playoffs. It's great coaching with good and great players. It works hand in hand, as we saw. So I'm interested if people think with this OC hire, and I hope it works out. And I went back and watched film of Tim Kelly when he was the OC there with the Texans. And I actually was pleasantly surprised a little bit that he actually did some things I kind of liked. So I'm hoping that transfers. But if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I'm not an excuse guy. They just not work for me. Oh, I don't care. Other teams had injuries too. I don't care. If it doesn't work out, is Vrabel's job in jeopardy at that point in time? At this point next year, if it doesn't work out and they don't go to the playoffs, that means it didn't work out. You don't go to the playoffs, it didn't work out. They probably gonna make a lot of moves. They're gonna have some new players, and it doesn't work out. Now it's on Vrabel. It is on Vrabel. There is no more point that finger all the way for yourself. In the NFL, they don't care about that. Dudes win Coach of the Year, the next year they get fired. You just go look at all the pro sports. It happens all the time because it's all about the wins and the losses. It doesn't matter. They don't care. This is not college. You point the finger, oh, well, we had injuries here. Oh, that guy was a bad guy in the locker room. No, it don't work like that. Not in the pros. Oh, I don't like that guy. But if that guy can play, oh, that guy doesn't play injured. And we kind of get into that with Nate Davis. Well, LeBron didn't play for you the last 2 years. Oh, but you like him. Man, come on, man. We got to get out of here with all that. This is the pros, man. This is the NFL. You like his play or you don't like his play. I don't care if that guy don't speak to anybody in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, and nothing. If that guy goes out there and just smash mouth and knock somebody, you know what, stiff, that's a dude. That's all they care about. So we got to get out of all this, hearing stuff about, you don't like him because he was injured here or there. Hey, what? That's not what we're supposed to be talking about. Or a player talking about, I don't like this certain teammate. I don't care if you hate your teammate. When you get out on that football field, you better play as though y'all best friends. Right. And that's all I care about. I didn't tell you to go hang out with him, go chop it up with him, or go hang out with his family. I could care less what you do. When we get on this football field, that's called being a pro. You're never going to enjoy any and everybody on your team.
53 people.
Yeah, but they're grown men,
right?
This is going bound to be happen, especially athletes. So it's just where egos are off the charts. That's how they all got there. So no, everybody's not going to like everybody. It's just not going to work like that. It's not all chummy. But when we play football, everybody's we're going to come together and everybody's going to do their job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I would imagine is at any level. I mean, I played at the level that I could play to. It's about doing your job at practice and during the games.
Yep.
It's about getting ready to play and going out and doing your job and playing. And like you said, You got guys that believe different things, Democrats, Republicans.
Yeah.
Some people love God, some people don't. I mean, it's all different. But when you put on the same jersey, you're brothers or sisters, depending on ladies or men, and you all come together for the sake of your sports. But you could be completely different freaking people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why when people assume, like, oh, man, I'm sure y'all, no. You probably get a handful of guys you're super tight with, and the rest of them, we're real good friends. Or, when we see each other, we pick right back up. Just, no different than when your family, someone moves to the other side of the, country or whatever, and you hardly ever see them or talk to them. And then when you see them, it's just like, hey, man, we pick up right where we left off. It's a bond that can never be broke. It's something just, you can't put a finger on it, but that's just how it is. So, I'm just interested to see how this all plays out. It's really interesting because I'm hoping for the best. But, man, Kelly better he better be a little bit different and have a little bit of versatility in the things that they do and change of pace. And that's what I saw when I was watching film. I saw actually when they played the Titans was stuffing them and destroying them, and then he came out and kind of spread it out and started throwing it around the yard and kind of got the Titans all been out a little wide there. The jockstraps in there,
The Danny Amendola game where he had his last game. Yeah. It was so great. He's like, I could never top this.
They can't even stop him now.
Couldn't stop him.
Right. And so we never saw anything like that from Downey. No. So I can say that. So there is possibly, a chance that, and we all got to give him a fair shot. But I'm hoping for the best. I hope it all works out. I don't want to hear nothing about somebody got injured, or I don't want to hear any of that. They're gonna get another number receiver. They're gonna get offensive linemen. They're gonna make sure that offense ticks, just like they did with the defense when the defense was horrible. So hopefully we can meet halfway in the middle, and then both of them click at the same time. And they need to quit saying the Titans defense is great. Stop that. I heard that 50 billion times the other day. I'm like, the Titans defense is great. Man, y'all must be looking at the wrong stats. Because that's a stat deal. That when they run defense was great. They were number 2.
Maybe they were watching a 2000 defense. They were talking about that.
I don't know, man. But the run defense is 2, and then the secondary is. Why do you think they fired the DB coach? They were like 31st.
I think they were 32nd.
Oh, well, yeah. That's not good. And I don't even blame them, though, to be honest. You had pass rushers missing. You had secondary guys coming off the street. You got injuries all over the place. All of a sudden, he can't coach now? I mean, so, hey, man, it's tough business. It's all about production. So sometimes it's the players you can get rid of. Sometimes it's the coaches. Crazy to sound, but that's how pro sports is, not just in the NFL.
All right, phones are ringing. Jason, Greg, you want to join them on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045. Also coming up, we had a lengthy discussion yesterday. Like, what does this mean if you coordinate the pass? Somebody asked Mike Vrabel that, and he answered. So we'll get to that as well coming up, but your phones next. Whatever you want to talk about regarding Kelly, Vrabel, whatever it is, 615-737-1045. Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. Let's go to the phones again, talking about new Titans offensive staff. Lots of announcements made yesterday, along with Chris Harris being added to the defensive staff. Jason in Nashville up first in this third segment of the first hour. Jason, what do you think about Tim Kelly as the Titans OC? You ready to endorse that move?
Well, let me just start. I became an Alabama football fan because of Shaun Alexander solely. And I'm not sure who gets the votes these days, but Blaine Bishop gets my vote every single day because if you don't think that other teams game planned around Blaine Bishop, you're freaking effing crazy. Those guys, I guarantee you they game planned around Blaine Bishop on a weekly basis in his prime. So he's a Hall of Famer in my book. Anyways, Tim Kelly, Blaine actually answered my question, before the break. So I'll transition to a different question. Do you guys, not only, it's kind of a loaded question, but do you guys think if Tim Kelly doesn't do well, does that cost, Mike Vrabel's job? And at the same time, if it is successful, I want to hear your opinion on what type of offense we're going to have, because of, Mike Vrabel, maybe strictly run like he's always been in the past. But at the same time, I would like to hear you guys' opinion on what you think Tim Kelly can actually bring to the table. And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you guys. I love you. I love listening to you.
Thank you, Jason. Love you too.
Yeah. Now, trust me, a lot of players say they used to game plan. They would tell me going into the week, hey, man, we got your number circled every time we play you guys. What are you doing over there?
Well, when you told me the story about you and Peyton Manning and him looking at you and you looking at you and then you looking back at him and then looking at your feet and realizing he was looking at your feet, that tells you what kind of game you were playing. Yeah.
But the scheme was built around my skill set, so I have to say that.
46 defense.
Yeah, so, I benefited a lot from that. As far as, I think if it doesn't work out, it's definitely, to me, in my mind, it's going to put Vrabel in question. But I actually believe, I'm hoping, based off what I saw, what he did with Mills, too, when he was, Tim Kelly, when he was there with the Texans, I saw versatility in adjusting in an actual game. Not the next game, but in game when the Titans were stopping them. And so I think even, Coach Vrabel mentioned that in his conversation, how then they spread it out and start throwing the ball around the yard, and the Titans looked totally different on defense, and they really gave up a lot of yards, and it looked like the Texans had a shot at coming back, but it just ran out of time. So I'm thinking that this is going to work out, and I think that's what he's going to bring, a little different flavor. Now, it's still going to be, we're going to run, and we're going to be a physical football team, and I definitely agree with that. But you have more options and creativity with the offense, I think, and not too far out of the realm of what Vrabel likes. And I think that it's probably a perfect match, and it's probably what everybody thought it would be, that Tim Kelly was going to be the guy. And so, I'm really actually, here's who I am. I'm always about what you show me is what you are. Well, what Kelly showed me as an OC matches up with what Vrabel would want to do and to the next level in the passing game. Now, is it still to the liking that I personally like? No, but you got to have the right quarterback. You got to have the right pieces. So with better pieces, which he will get, on the offensive line as well as weapons, if they don't do that this offseason, then I don't know who's going to be successful in this offense. So I think it could be a perfect match. And Vrabel, as much as everybody wanted him to go outside, me included, he does know, and the temperament of knowing a staff member and how to push buttons and make sure that you're doing what the coach want to do, but yet still getting across what you want to accomplish, I think will work out hopefully well, I'm assuming. And that's why most coaches always hire some buddies or guys that they've worked with. So I can't hold that against them. There's a part of me, I want him to go outside for creativity. Now, he said that he did when he interviewed these multiple people, which we don't know who those multiple people were. I have no idea. That I'm sure he was pulling ideas from them as well about whether it was the running game, passing game, any different situation of the offense. So Vrabel's a smart, sharp guy. So I'm hoping that he adapts, and there's always more ways to skin a cat. And that's my whole deal. Like when the running game isn't working, don't just keep running into a brick wall. Let's don't keep playing twice daily. See, these are things that tells me that he's somewhat stubborn in his ways, because at some point you got to say, we got to switch this thing up. And I'm not saying early in a game or, after halftime, you can say, hey, man, today, we for whatever reason, the running game isn't working. So we're going to try to test it a little bit more in the second half. But if not, we got to start spreading this thing out and we got to throw the ball. And remember, I kept saying that because I wanted to see it happen in the regular season, because I wanted to see Tannehill deal with adversity during the season. That way, when he came to the playoffs, if they made it to the playoffs, which they didn't, then he's already comfortable with doing that. And that way you feel more comfortable in the playoffs, because that's where his issue's been. When the playoffs come and you're playing better teams and they're not going to let you do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Especially when you get to that second round. You may get away with it that first round, but that second round, divisional round, that's tougher. And that's where not only Tannehill, but I would say the team has gotten stuck. And it's because they relied so much on the running game. You got to have other ways to beat teams or to get them out of stopping what they're doing to you. And then now you have a well-rounded offense. And you can beat them in multiple ways, whether it's the sharp passing game. Here's what I love about when I watch the Bengals. Now, they got great talent, but they didn't mess around with trying to, we're going to keep running to a brick wall and run the football. And they got a good running back, by the way. I would say he's in the top 10 in the NFL mixing. He's a good player.
Pretty good
ones. Yeah, pretty good one. Yeah. What's the P. Ryan? Mm-hmm. From Florida, right?
Yeah, P. Ryan did pretty well against the Titans.
That's right. Yeah, he was hard to stop because he's kind of a heavy guy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So they went quick passing game. See? Go watch the Eagles. I got to watch them in the playoffs. They almost started every game like that because everybody was trying to stop not only the quarterback running the football, but their running game. So then they would come out, loosen you up. Boom, boom. Quick passing game, quick passing game. Uh-oh, we got him on the rope. Now we're going to hit him with the run. Boom. Uh-oh. Read option. Bam. And then guess what they do? Fake boom downtown. See, that's rhythm. Rhythm to the offensive play calling. So I'm hoping, Tim Kelly, and I would assume he will be because it's not hard to be better than Dajani, besides the Green Bay game, in the rhythm and flow of the offense and how they're setting up and designing plays for not just that play, but for down the road. Sometimes I remember Heimerdinger wouldn't run a play until the second half because he had already ran a play that was going to counter you in the first half that he ran in the second half. If you gave him that same look, and he got you. And it was just like, whoa, that's cool. So even as a player, I was sitting there learning. Even as a player on the sideline at practice, I'm learning. I'm actually calling plays sometimes just to mess around. So this is kind of the way I was. And then I'm watching the game today, and it still hasn't changed. Not in the National Football League. College football has changed. NFL has changed to a certain extent. And people can say it's always going to be running and defense. Well, what I said before. The 4 coaches that made it to the Final Four in the NFL playoffs, they were all offensive driven. Now, that's to say their defense weren't good, because we all know that the Eagles' defense is really good.
All 4 in the Final Four, top 8 in total offense.
Yeah. Offense is king. Now, you got to have a good defense. You don't have to have a great one. Well, the Eagles have the best all-around team, period, in the NFL. That don't mean they're going to win on Sunday. Doesn't mean that. You got to play your best on that day. And that doesn't mean, and then they got a magician on the Chiefs. He's a cure out of everything. Mahomes is a cure out of everything. He is a magician. This guy is just different. He's just that much better than everybody else. Hey, I love Jalen Hurts, and he had a great season, but he is not magical. He is not magical. And he's going to get paid, but he's not magical.
We do have a second hour of the show, and it will be magical. Jordan Dajani is going to join us. He's magical. We'll hear from Mike Vrabel. That might be magical. We'll take Greg's call. We'll take your call as well. It's all coming up. Hour number 2, Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone, Super Bowl week. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Lucas has already got his Sloppy Joe mix in the crock pot, getting it all ready for the game on Sunday so it can just simmer and get right for a few days. And got lawmakers in Tennessee trying to make Super Bowl Monday a holiday, but it's not. So don't push yourself too much on Sunday or just take a vacation day. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, Titans got a whole new offensive staff. Man, it's just like just like a whole bunch of stuff going on, but they stayed in-house for the offensive coordinator, and they kept some guys, and they brought in a new guy to coach the quarterbacks, but Pat O'Hara's still there. Moved Tony Dews to tight ends coach, but Luke Steckel's still there, 2 analysts. But a lot of people wondering a lot of things about who does what. So let's do this. Yesterday we found out about this. Lucas, I know you got this audio. We were kind of wondering if somebody's a passing game coordinator or, if they have some name besides running backs coach, offensive coordinator, if they coordinate some part of the offense or whatever, what are all these people actually doing? Was it Teron Davenport who essentially asked that question yesterday and Mike Vrabel on job duties? This is what Mike Vrabel said.
My question is in regards to the collaboration side of things. Like, how do you see everything working as far as Charles London as pass game coordinator with Pat O'Hara in his role, as well as Tim Kelly in his and your addition as well?
Well, I mean, I think all that is, we have to work through those types of things. I think that, the one thing that I really appreciated from where Charles has been is having been with Tim and then gone and done some stuff on his own and bringing some of what he's learned from Chicago, his time in Chicago, which what was valuable, his work in Atlanta, which is valuable. And so, his number one priority is going to be, coaching the quarterbacks, and then the pass game coordinator. I think that's an assist role, and that's, providing ideas and support and, helping Tim and everybody involved work through the weekly game plan and how we want to start off the spring and what we want to do and how we want to install things and maybe how we change the terminology. Because I think that's also important. I think, some of this stuff is going to be consistent, but there'll be a lot that will force us all to learn and to grow. And I think that's probably an important time for all of that, whether it's the terminology, the runs are the runs, the plays are the plays, but how we're calling things, how we're teaching things, how we're putting things into certain buckets. Those are all things that'll probably change with Tim and Charles and my input as well.
You more tied in on this now?
I don't know. That was kind of long-winded and just kind of explaining what they're doing. But all that to me was just that's I don't want to hear. Now I'm just waiting to see what it looks like. And we got a long way to go. Again, we could talk about all the things you want to. Coaches are creatures of habit, so you're always going to lean back and crunch back onto the things that in crunch time. So I'm interested to see does these things actually happen? So I'm all about that action ball. So I got to see it before I believe it. All that talking, coaches, players, there's a talk. Your actions tell you what you're really thinking. And so if you do it, then now it's a different deal. Okay, well, now we're working and trying to get somewhere, and you're listening and being open-minded and trying to figure out what's the best route to go during the spring, and then ultimately when the season starts, you got to get a plan that it all works together. So we shall see. But adversity is the time when you really find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about your coaching staff and your head coach. So we shall see. Say a lot of different things now, but it all sounds good.
There has been talk of players and, only as good as the health of your players and all that. There's been no talk about strength and conditioning staff. If you're Ray Carthon and you joined a team and it played 91 guys one year and 86 the next, and your own head coach that you joined talked about repeat offenders and soft tissue injuries and those type of things in his final season, when he addressed us at the end of the season, would you have some questions about, show me everything that we're doing with guys who are hurt?
But when he did say repeat offenders, he was referring to the actual player, like it's the player, not actually our our program.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing for our strength and conditioning. That's how I took it.
I did too. But I think I would have some questions. Okay, then why aren't we getting through to the players, the repeat offenders? And I know guys are adults and they do what they do. You've talked about this a lot. But
Yeah, I think the ownership goes around to everybody. I'm always going to be that way. Because if you actually want to be a successful player and you want to get some moolah, you got to take care of yourself. This is not college anymore. You know, you got to take care of your body so you perform to the best of your ability and be the best version of you each and every week and whatever that takes. You know, and I'm not talking about doing anything illegal as far as that, but yeah, I mean, you want to be. I think some guys now, I just think it's this, you know, thing that's going on around athletes now is, you know, you just do enough to make sure that you know you're okay, and if you're not okay, then you're not going outside of that. So I think it's more this generation type deal, and I think that's what he's referring to. Now, as far as the strength and conditioning, I'm not over there. I don't know what all they do, and I have no idea. But I would definitely be looking at that in a little more detail. Now, if I'm the GM, I'm thinking I'm putting that on the coach. Mm-hmm. That's really his realm, and that's his guy, whether you're talking about training staff. But I would ask questions, and not just to him. I would go get my own information because I'm not going to rely on one person telling me something because they're going to give me their version of theirs. Just like anything else is somewhere in the middle. So I want to hear from all factors so I can understand what's going on too, because that's not my expertise either. And by the way, that's not Vrabel's. That is not Vrabel. He didn't study strength and conditioning, coach, when he was in college. He didn't in the pros. He may have a good idea what they do and how they go about it and what he thinks is his version of what is best for his team. But that don't mean he's right. But guess what? He thinks he's right. So obviously it was his hire and they're moving forward. So if I would put money out there, I don't think anything's going to happen to the training staff, strength and conditioning staff, anybody in that realm. I don't think anything. I don't think anything's going to happen. Because to me, if you're going to do that, that would already happen.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, hey, man, I think there's an issue? Oh, absolutely, I do. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I owned a Burger King and I couldn't make enough French fries because the fryers were always out, I would look at the fryer maintenance crew. Like, who keeps up? Who's supposed to fix these? Who's supposed to make sure these work right? I would have some questions if I never had enough fries. If I ran out of fries, Titans ran out of players.
Yeah.
Man, I was picking up we had a caller who had waited a long time. I was picking him up. Let's get Danny in the borough, though. Danny, thanks for calling Blaine and Mickey.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Always appreciate getting a chance to talk to you guys on the air. I'm excited to hear what Jordan Dajani's got to say about this thing. I love his segment.
Oh, yeah. He's next. He's next. Yeah.
I love that guy. But anyway, just my 2 cents on what the Titans did yesterday. And, of course, I'm coming from the outside looking in on this one. But I got to say, it just seems like more of the same to me. And one quote from Vrabel yesterday really stuck out to me when he said the reason that he went with Kelly was because, quote, not everything was broken about the team last year. And it just was almost a little bit shocking.
Yeah, that was.
Because, no disrespect meant to the team, every single thing about that offense seemed broken. And I don't know that Tim Kelly is going to do a whole lot different than what Todd Downing did. I mean, Tim Kelly was there to, coordinate the passing game last year. And granted, there was a ton of injuries, but even when we had the Titans had that talent on the field. There were times when they had the pieces there that they needed to do things the right way. Nothing got done the right way, man. Like nothing. There was one game where things came together and worked out, that was on the road in Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand why there's anything for a Titans fan to be optimistic about in this one, except for maybe the fact that Rand Carthon probably had his piece in signing off on this. And I think that there's a lot of reason to be excited about him and what he can do for this roster. But if it's going to be a roster that's forced to do the same old thing that Vrabel's been wanting his teams to do the past couple of years, yeah, there was some success a couple of years back, but that was with the defense playing lights out and Tannehill playing at a top-tier level for the majority of that season. I just don't know that that's something that's going to be repeated this coming year. But that's just my 2 cents, fellas.
Appreciate
good
the phone
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of interesting because I'd never heard anybody say that the offense was broken. And I don't know if when they asked the question, if they said that, I don't think they did. And I would never think, I don't think it's broken. I think you just need to make some adjustments. So Hey, it's Vrabel. You can call it Vrabel ball, whatever term you want to give it, but I think there's something to all these injuries. And by the way, Kelly was in the meetings when you're putting the game plans together. So I don't know how the dynamic works and how much he actually had input on that. Now, you still have to have players. So don't get me wrong. The offensive line can cause problems in every facet, whether the running game, passing game, and everything else. So it was hard. But he was there, and that you try to, supplement what you're lacking. So to me, they never went to the passing game. I mean, short passing game, which I mentioned. They never did. They did a little, but it wasn't enough to say that's what they're going to do to slow down these pass rushes and loosen up the defenses because, of our lack of play on the offensive line, playing all these backups and guys off the street.
And other teams did it to them. Why do you think people don't hit Joe Burrow? They had trouble on the offensive line. They had 3 backups.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Get rid of the ball in 2.6 seconds.
Yeah. See, now that's what I'm talking about. And to me, that's all you can ask because everybody's having injuries. And you knew for sure that your offensive line couldn't accomplish what you wanted to do, and that was run the football. So let's do something else. Let's short passing game. That's like running the football. You're still accomplishing getting 4-5 yards in the beginning, and not no freaking hitch curl stuff. Some things is designed.
Right.
Come on, man. We can't be running a high school offense.
We'll all find out what it's going to look like because Tim Kelly's the man. Jordan Dajani set to join us next. Covers the NFL for CBS Sports. Also is a Nashville hometown guy. What does he think about the Kelly hire? We'll get into all that and more. Some Super Bowl talk. All that coming up next with Jordan Dajani. Blaine and Mickey, that's the name of this show. Thanks for hanging out with us and being part of it. We appreciate you. Jordan Dajani is a regular participant in the show. You can always catch him Wednesdays right around 2:20 from CBS Sports at Jordan Dajani on Twitter. JD, how is this Super Bowl week treating you? How are you preparing to watch the Super Bowl?
Yo, my friends, what is going on? Always excited to join you guys on the airwaves.
JD.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Right now for CBS Sports, I'm working on 57 bets to make for Super Bowl 57.
What?
That's what's going to take up the entirety of my day today. So CBSSports.com, as you guys know, has a plethora of information when it comes to gambling, spreads, totals, stats, records that could be broken. We're working on a lot of stuff right now.
Dang. There you go. CBSSports.com at Jordan Dajani. So let's start with something local then. Your thoughts on Tim Kelly being promoted after all this time? We're all kind of waiting to hear they've interviewed and all these things. Well, they interviewed the guy in-house and they went with him, Tim Kelly. What do you think?
Yeah, Mr. Tim Kelly. I mean, let's face it, this was an underwhelming hire. Now, I'm not writing Coach Tim off before he begins by any means, but I expected Ran Carthon to go outside the building for this incredibly important hire. Anytime you have the third worst offense in the NFL, the third worst passing offense in the NFL, and our bottom five in scoring, changes have to be made. We can't chalk all that up to injuries. And as I've said on the air with you guys multiple times, an outside candidate would bring a natural change of philosophy with how the Titans offense operates. Not necessarily going away from Derrick Henry, but finding a way to spark the passing game. So best case scenario in my mind with this hire, Kelly gets new pieces at wide receiver to work with and accomplishes much more than the Titans did in 2022. Worst case scenario is Mike Vrabel is going to be on the hot seat due to what could be a very anemic offense.
Jordan Dajani, our guest here, talking Titans and more from CBS Sports on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, JD, man, just on that same point, kind of give me examples, if you can recall, where coaches were moving around like Vrabel did in this situation. And I know why he did it, because he was trying to find, places to bring in the new hires. But sometimes now, some of these guys are coaching positions they never coached before. And one coach, at least I can recall, definitely coached multiple positions, so it probably wouldn't be as much of a problem with him. But kind of, you've covered the NFL for a long time. Have you seen a lot of this happen? And if you do, where do you recall seeing that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I had mapped out kind of every coaching promotion when it came to all 32 NFL teams so I had a better idea. But I will say this, to answer your question, every coach leans to familiarity, right?
Yep.
If they're familiar with former assistants of theirs, coaches that have worked under them or alongside them in different regards for different teams, whether that be in college or NFL, I've seen coaches be more inclined to lean towards that. And Mike Vrabel clearly has shown that during his tenure with the Tennessee Titans. And obviously Tim Kelly is somebody that he's very familiar with as well. And to add on to that, when it comes to roles in the building, in the NFL, some coaches seem to put in, the utmost importance on these titles, and then other coaches like Mike Vrabel, they don't really care about titles, right? They have their staffs in place, and they're going to duel out the responsibilities behind closed doors, and everybody's going to be on the same page when it comes to establishing the game plan. Remember, Mike Vrabel hated that he had to name a defensive coordinator a couple of years ago because he already had it taken care of in-house. So Mike Vrabel operates that way. But at the same time, we can talk about, I don't want to say the word stubbornness because, of course, that's a very negative descriptor. But at the same time, that's why I said I think that going outside of house for this important hire, because I really do think it was one of the most important decisions Tennessee made this offseason, was going to be important because bringing new ideas to the table, maybe a coach that you haven't worked with before, someone like an Eric Bieniemy or somebody who's trying to further their own career by taking over a main leadership position in an offense would be beneficial for the Titans. But, of course, they opted against that.
Well, let's stick with the Titans note and all these rumors here on quarterback. I mean, whether you believe it or not, a lot of people are talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Tennessee Titans. I believe that when I see it. But what are your thoughts when you hear that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll see it when I believe it, right? I don't think that's going to happen. That'd be pretty interesting. I mean, that would definitely give me a jolt in my step when it comes to covering Aaron Rodgers. There's no doubt about it. But, again, I think that the Titans are really kind of poised to move forward with Ryan Tannehill. That's what I've been saying for months now. It's still what I believe. I feel like they're going to mess with his contract to make it more beneficial to their cap structure this offseason, and he's going to be the quarterback moving forward in 2023. With that said, I've always mentioned that the Titans should explore different avenues, and maybe that does include Aaron Rodgers if he's looking for a change of scenery.
Yeah, that would. Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. I guess one more. Will the Colts ever hire a head coach? What's Irsay doing, man? What is going on here?
They're still doing interviews, right? They're doing third interviews, fourth interviews, fifth interviews with all these different guys.
Yeah, they called me the other day.
Yeah, they called you the other day, exactly. It's been interesting to watch. I really feel like they would have nailed a candidate by now, especially considering the fact that they fired their head coach in season. But it hasn't worked out that way. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens, who they land on. But more importantly, it's going to be fascinating to watch that introductory press conference with whomever they hire to see what Jim Irsay has to say.
Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Jordan, just kind of dipping back towards the Titans for a second. People always, and us too, and me too, as much as anybody, we try to read like, okay, so this happened, so I think this is going to happen, or this happened. Do you think Ryan Tannehill is going to be the quarterback for the Titans next year? I think so. Now, 100%. I think that. It's the same system. It would have been easier maybe to bring in somebody new and everybody learn a new system together, but you're keeping the same terminology. You're keeping all the same stuff. What do you think that means for Tannehill?
Yeah, 100%. And, with this hire, in terms of promoting Tim Kelly, that's somebody who's very familiar with Ryan Tannehill. And that shows you that Mike Vrabel is more interested in running it back with some of the key pieces, the core principles that he had on the offensive side of the ball. I think Vrabel said something yesterday about Tim being able. Yeah, I think he said something about Tim having familiarity in terms of the concepts and that everything in the offense wasn't broken. And I think that we can apply that philosophy to the quarterback play as well. And I don't think Ryan Tannehill's broken. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. And I think when you look around the league, at the prospective quarterback carousel, at your cap situation, at the other options, I think you should be poised to move forward with Ryan Tannehill in 2023. Now, it'll be interesting to have this conversation next offseason. But again, I think that's the best course of action for 2023, the Titans moving forward with Tannehill.
Well, if you don't mess with Tannehill's contract, then there's not even a restructure of anything. You would be done technically with he and Derrick Henry both next year because both of their contracts are up after this year.
Right, that's a great point.
So if you just say roll with it like it is, then all those numbers just disappear after next year, and the cap would go up as well too. Let's keep the quarterback discussion going. Carr, Saints, it makes sense. I guess Carr's people, they had to work out what would the trade be before he could even talk to the Saints. But do you think Carr to the Saints is going to happen?
So you nailed it, right? The quarterback carousel has been given a kickstart this week. Carr's been granted permission to visit with the New Orleans Saints. And as you mentioned, I think what's important about this story is that the Raiders and Saints had to agree on trade compensation to get to this step, which is notable. However, I still don't see a trade happening if I had to put money down on what ends up happening. If I were the Saints or the Jets or whoever, I'm not trading for that Derek Carr contract. Carr is likely going to be released by the Raiders in the next 7 days and then enter what is virtually free agency. I see the situation as both the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr doing their due diligence. And Carr has a bit of familiarity with head coach Dennis Allen, who actually coached him for 4 games in his rookie season before being kicked out of Oakland as head coach. Now, another reason a trade is hard to envision is because the Saints have the worst financial situation in the NFL. They are over $60 million over the cap. I understand that the cap isn't real and all those funny jokes that we like to make, but at the same time, it's hard to make it feasible when it comes to Derek Carr's cap hits over the next 3 years and what the Saints are currently looking at. So either way, the bottom line for this entire story is that the Saints are the first reported suitor for Carr. That being said, I don't see a trade coming to fruition over the next week.
Talking with Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports, covering the NFL.
Well, quarterbacks are always great for discussion, and a lot of people aren't talking about this, and he's actually in the Super Bowl. That's Jalen Hurts, man. It seems like he's due for an extension sooner than later, regardless if they win the Super Bowl or not. What do you think those numbers are going to look like?
So I'm actually glad you brought this up because that was probably my big takeaway from the Super Bowl opening night was the Eagles owner basically coming out and saying, you know what, Jalen Hurts has nothing left to prove to us in terms of him being a franchise quarterback, even if we lose the Super Bowl. I think he used the words, he's just what we're looking for, which is great if you're Jalen Hurts and his agent because you're going to have a chance for a really big payday this offseason, and I believe he's actually eligible for that big payday this offseason. Now, when it comes to just this offseason in general, there are several quarterbacks who are eligible for these extensions. And, we've been stuck on the topic of Lamar Jackson for over a year now because he's been hung up on the fully guaranteed contract that his rival, Deshaun Watson, signed. So I'm very interested to see what happens because all of these teams, whether it be the Chargers, the Bengals, now the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, it's going to be interesting to see how they structure these contracts when it comes to AAV, when it comes to total guaranteed, when it comes to signing bonuses, when it comes to the length of the contract as well. Because at this juncture where we are basically in NFL history, since we just saw what Deshaun Watson got, we really have to see agents and teams look outside the box when it comes to constructing these deals. So it's hard to project what exactly Jalen Hurts will get. He's going to get up there in the top 10. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But I'm kind of interested to see what the length on a potential deal for Jalen Hurts would look like as opposed to somebody like Joe Burrow. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I love me some Joe Burrow. Well, with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports, another quarterback question. I thought it was just maybe coincidence, but Mr. TB12 is going to take a year off from broadcasting, which leaves a little bit of a window just in case he wants to come back if Tua has a concussion. No, I just had to throw that in there. Or misses a game. I don't want him to have a concussion, but misses some games.
Yeah, that's a good example, though, because he loves Miami. He's already been tied to Miami.
Kids in school there.
He's already been executed for tampering with him, right? But at the same time, listen, I've been talking to people who are much smarter than I am, and they are of the belief that Tom Brady actually has a chance of returning to the NFL. But in my opinion, I do think that he's done for good. And there's two reasons why. One, I think that he has a really sexy job lined up with Fox that everybody would be jealous over. And two, does Tom Brady really want that Brett Favre reputation? I don't think so, right? I think he ruined his chances of coming back again with what happened last year. And I think that he's someone who really does think about that. Now, the drive and your competitive fire could definitely be an element that overrules that feeling. I get that. But at the same time, I do think that Tom Brady's done. He seems like somebody who's pretty exhausted with everything that he's had to go over the last year. If he was picking up on a new team that comes with learning a new offense, creating new chemistry with the new team, really starting over in more ways than one. And yes, I do believe that he can still play football at a very high level. I agree with that. I still think that he's hung up the cleats for good. It's going to be fascinating to see how he does as a commentator.
We're on with Jordan Dajani. I guess now let's talk about the Super Bowl. Like who wins, and not only that, who wins the MVP? Break it down for us, Jordan.
I'm excited for this, man. I think my column's coming out tomorrow on my official pick. I will say this, guys. I nailed the Super Bowl last year. I said that the Rams would win by exactly 3 points. The Bengals would cover the spread.
Did you bet on that?
I made some good money when it came to the Super Bowl last year. I'll say this, though. I'm not as confident in this matchup because I do think that these are the two best teams in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to rushing the quarterback, when it comes to scoring points, it's the Chiefs and the Eagles at the top. So I'm expecting a very fun, close matchup. However, here's the X factor in my opinion. Patrick Mahomes has never been a playoff underdog in 13 career starts. Now, in the regular season, when he's been an underdog, he's 7-1-1 against the spread and 6-3 straight up when he's an underdog. With a record like that, I'm going to take it every time. You give me the Chiefs on the money line at plus money, I'm probably going to take that every time. Philly is an incredible team, and I would argue the more talented unit. However, the Chiefs have experience on this big stage, and I think that's going to come in handy in a tight game.
So you're not telling us, but you're telling us.
I'm taking the Chiefs. That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Well, throw in the MVP, man, so some people could go make some money too.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun bet to make every time. And listen, I think the quarterback's going to be everybody's favorite bet, and you can get Patrick Mahomes and and Jalen Hurts at plus money right now, which is good value. I'll put it this way. If I'm predicting the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the Super Bowl MVP. But when it comes to the Eagles, I think that things could get a little bit finicky, okay? If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I don't think Jalen Hurts is as much of a shoo-in for Super Bowl MVP. A couple of bets that I'm going to make myself, in the case that I'm wrong on the Chiefs, I kind of like Devontae Smith as a sleeper at plus 2,500. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. He's almost turned into the wide receiver number one for Philly at times in the postseason. $10 on him right now would win you $260. The other guy I'm looking at is the pass rusher Hassan Reddick, who's been a man on fire in the playoffs. I think he has 3.5 sacks. That's already set the Eagles franchise record for most quarterback takedowns in a single postseason. $10 on him would net you $360 if he were to win it. I'm looking at the edge rushers, the pass rushers for the Eagles, because that's one of the X factors in this matchup. Patrick Mahomes is 90% on that bad ankle. The Philly has the team with the most pressures in the NFL heading into this matchup. That's going to be an X factor. And listen, if we don't see an offensive explosion from the Eagles, then that's why I believe it's possible that Super Bowl MVP could go to the best player on the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles.
Well, I'm going to throw a little caveat in it. I'm going to ask this question, did forewarn you. Could you just make me think about this? What player has won the Heisman, a national championship, a Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP? I don't know the answer. But when you said Devontae Smith, he has a chance of doing that. You just said he would be your MVP, possibly.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. That's a great point.
Maybe
Marcus Allen would.
Did he? I know he won the MVP of the Super Bowl. He won the Heisman. Did he win a national championship?
Surely USC won a national championship with him. Surely, Jordan.
Lucas can't help us because he was not born.
That's the first name that comes to me because it's like, oh, I'm checking all the boxes. Oh, he did that.
We'll pose this question to our listeners. Maybe they can help us out. But you could also write an article and then tell everybody.
Yeah.
But,
For sure.
Yeah. But, the last thing I was going to ask you is what's some of the fun prop bets that you think could be made in this Super Bowl?
Oh, man, we could spend an entire segment on this, and it's going to be a fun article to read when I publish this tomorrow. I love the cross sports props. Like Zach Edey, the 8-foot-tall center for Purdue, rebounds for him versus Chiefs first-half points. And I'm taking Edey rebounds. He's going to have more rebounds on Sunday as compared to the Chiefs' first-half points. So some of these cross-sports props are amazing. I'm looking at Aaliyah Boston, the women's star for South Carolina, points and rebounds over Jerick McKinnon receiving yards. There is a ton of novelty props when it comes to the Super Bowl. It's become a Super Bowl holiday. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to break them all down for the article tomorrow.
Wow, I'd never heard of the cross-sport prop bets for a Super Bowl. Wow. Learn something new every day.
There you go. Well, we'll be looking out for it at Jordan Dajani on Twitter, CBS Sports. Tons of great NFL and all sports and tons of great draft coverage, too, as we get into that season. JD, great stuff, man. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. You guys are the best. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I got to talk to my chat GBD.
I was right about Marcus Allen.
He did? Who told you?
I was right. They won the national championship in 78, and he was there in 78.
Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP, Super Bowl champion, national champion, Heisman Trophy winner.
Because Charles White won the Heisman, and he blocked for him.
Right, he was
then
the fullback.
Charles White graduated, and then he moved to jump back, and then he won the Heisman.
Right, the late, great Charles
Late,
White.
great Charlie White. Absolutely. Love watching.
Good
Oh,
stuff.
gosh, I love
Appreciate
watching
it.
both those guys.
Oh, so is anybody else, though?
I don't know about that.
That was a good guess there off the cuff there,
Right
Mickey.
off the top. All right, when we come back, we have Preds tickets to give away, and why not just switch out? If you're going to name Tim Kelly the OC, why not just switch him out with Todd Downing last year? Mike Vrabel answered that question yesterday, and you'll hear it next.
What, bro?
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Getting down here.
Yeah, man.
Just in time to get out of here.
Uh-oh. You got to name that tune. Oh, that's another segment. Name that tune, Mickey.
This is new. What is it, Lucas?
We got to have game music, too. Do, if you miss.
This wasn't just in the system. This is Asking Alexandria, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you Marcus Allen won everything from the 80s and the 70s, but you play me a new rock song, I'm probably going to struggle with that.
What? We got to start that segment back up, Lucas. And
83 and 84, that's my two.
Name
top,
that year. That's
my
what
two
I like to do
that
with
was
Mickey.
name the year?
Music.
Yeah, I like making Mickey name the year a song came out.
I can name the
that's
year.
so hard.
I can name the year 2022 because that's when Todd Downing was the OC for the whole year and things didn't end well.
I couldn't name the year of crap.
So there was some crap with the offense of the Titans. It's funny you use that word.
Only one crap I could name was 2000.
People are curious. Why didn't you just make Tim Kelly the OC with 5 games left or 4 games left or 3 or 2 or even 1?
Oh, they
because
still were
one
playing for
more win gets you in the playoffs. So Mike Vrabel addressed that very question yesterday.
Well, I mean, there's, I have to make decisions, Gentry, and I don't know if, during the season, anything really would have mattered. I really don't. And I think that what I'm focused on is where we go, from here, where we're able to grow, where we're able to find a way to protect our quarterback, find a way to continue to drive the football, have less non-efficient plays and runs, and be able to convert third downs, score touchdowns, get to the red zone more often. I stand behind what we do in the red zone. We just got to get down there more often. And so, I mean, I've met with Tim. I think he was under contract in Houston. So, when we were able to add him, we added him in some capacity.
So there you go. Are you an in-season make-a-change guy, Blaine? Because sometimes we ask you, what if you're the general manager? What if you were calling the shots?
Oh, my dream world if I was a coach?
Yeah.
No, I would have done exactly what Vrabel. But that's hard to do. And they still had a lot at stake. I mean, he was still trying to play for the playoffs.
Yep.
So have a disruption as far as coaching staff, you have to be out of the playoff race. I'm going to say that. Now, if they were out of the playoff race, all bets are off. But he had to continually kind of go down that road because he believed that they were going to make it. I did too. I don't know if you wanted to go down that road. Maybe and we don't even know this. Maybe Kelly was helping out calling some plays there towards the end. I don't know. I'm not on the headset. But that wouldn't have made a lot of sense to me. Keep going down the road, see what you can do, see if you can get better. I mean, and a lot of it you could say is just because they had a lot of injuries, so they were limited anyway. Mm-hmm. But if you were out of the race, I would have been all in. Let's try something new. Let's get a jump start to see if you can be a coordinator for next year. And give you 3 games. Let me see what you can do, even if it's horrible. We out of the hunt. But they was definitely in the hunt. And matter of fact, 2 minutes and how many seconds?
Oh gosh.
Out of they was still in it.
Josh Dobbs playing quarterback.
Yeah. And all those injuries. So
Twice daily and we had somebody in the Zone TV chat. Roger said, if you ask me, he said nobody did. I think it's a clear indicator move of a rebuild, a complete rebuild. I expect nothing less than cuts to start happening in the next few weeks. Well, they're going to cut some people. They're not going to rebuild. If you're Vrabel, would you sign off on that?
Oh, rebuilding?
Yes.
I don't know.
They're going to rebuild the O-line, I think. But
right. That is a vital piece to his style of play.
It's a renovation.
It's a renovation.
What was the Boyle term? Competitive rebuild?
That's
retool, or to me in this modern era, you are rebuilding to a certain extent. When you have to get 4 of the 5 offensive linemen, and only Petit Ferrer's coming back. If Jones retires, they say they're not going to sign Nate Davis.
That was in Jim Wyatt's.
You are
to see him back.
4 of the 5 that's a rebuild. You're rebuilding your offensive line.
One of those houses on HGTV that they're renovating that has a solid foundation, has a lot of potential. Just want to make it a more open concept.
You guys don't know this. I did a bunch of shows for HGTV in my real estate days.
Ooh.
I did. on one of my other lives.
Watch this. What year was that?
Oh, I don't even remember. It was after Marcus
But
Allen.
you
won the
know when
Heisman,
Marcus Allen had.
It was after that happened, and Charles White. They both done it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, Jim
Come
White
on,
mentioned Corey Levin coming back in the same mailbag. So you could put
He played solid.
you could put him
Definitely
there,
ready
and
to
maybe
get
that'd be
back
one less guy. All right, Lucas, remind me. I can't leave before I give away these Preds tickets.
Oh, man. But, yeah, Chad Brinker, he's going to be giving away those tickets, okay?
Yeah, the new. He's new with the Titan staff. All right, calling all University of Alabama fans, students, and alumni. It's Alabama night at the Preds game, February 21. Be caller 5 now to win tickets to see the Preds take on the Vancouver Canucks in Smashville. 615-737-1045 for more info or to purchase tickets. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets and don't miss out. Caller 5 gets them now. Caller 5.
Woo!
Get 'em.
Jeez. In the meantime.
In between time.
Truth teller. Peace.